Hello, 6th grade. This is Chapter 5, Lesson 5.3, Properties of Addition and Multiplication. Please make sure you have this written down with the correct heading. Please also have your learning target written down. By the end of this class, you should be able to identify equivalent expressions and apply properties to generate equivalent expressions. Okay? Please press pause, copy this down, and then we will move forward. There is quite a bit of notes for today, so please be aware of that. All right, first thing I would like you to write down is I do want you to write down this word equivalent expressions right here. So please make sure you write that down. Equivalent expressions. In the last lessons, we talked about expressions. Now let's just talk really quick about equivalent. So right next to equivalent, so I'm going to write it down. Equivalent expressions. I'm going to shorten it for just EXP, equivalent expressions. I just want you to write down or to think about the word equivalent. The first few letters kind of spell out the word equal. That means they are going to be equal. One way to think about that is like this. So an equivalent expression would be x plus 8. So please write this down, is the exact same thing or is equivalent to 8 plus x. Okay? It's going to make sense when we put this all together, but please just make sure you write this down. All right? Now, over here, I do want you to write this down, please. So in nice big letters, I'd like you to write down this title, please. So please make sure you do write down this title. I'm going to put a box around it so you can see it. Commutative properties. So press pause if you have to. Write that down. Then I want you to write this down. This is what's going to help you remember what commutative property means. It means changing the order of a problem. Which examples do I want you to write down? I want you to write down this example here. And then I want you to write this example right here, okay? So what exactly does commutative property means? All it means is we are changing the order of numbers. We are allowed to change the order because they will be equivalent. They will be equal. 5 plus 8 is the exact same thing. So 5 plus 8 is the exact same thing if we just do 8 plus 5. No matter how you write it, it will be the exact same thing, okay? Same thing with multiplication. So when you do commutative property, you are allowed to do addition and you're also allowed to do multiplication. So for example, 5 times 8 is equal to 40, right? And then 8 times 5 is also the exact same thing as 40. So they are equivalent expressions. All right. Now I want you to write down this other title, Associative Properties. Make sure you say that so you know how to say it. Associative Properties. Write that down. What does that mean? That means you are going to change the groups. So in the other one, we changed the order. This time we are talking about changing the groups. And what does that mean? Is we're moving parentheses around. It's a lot easier to solve some problems if you change the parentheses around. For example, also, please make sure you write down these examples right here. So 7 plus 4 plus 2, right? Because if we do PEMDAS, what are the first ones we have to do? The ones inside the parentheses. All right, so let's write those down. We are changing the groups. Here's a good example of the associative property. So if I had 9 plus, let's say, 3 plus 1, and we had parentheses like this. An equivalent property, in my head, I'm thinking, man, I wish there was an easier way to write this. And the way it would be easier would be, I'd like to put 9 and 1 together, right? So I'm going to put 9 plus 1, put those in parentheses. I'm going to change the groupings plus 3. That's easier to add. So 9 plus 1 is 10, and 10 plus 3 is 13. Then you have 9 plus 3 is 12, and 12 plus 1 is 13. So they're both, again, they are equivalent expressions. Another good example would be something like this. Let's see, 5 times 3 times 2. And if we put this in parentheses, you're kind of thinking, okay, 5 times 3 is, you're trying to think about it. I was like, I wish there was an easier way to solve this problem. So we're going to use the associative property to change some things around, and you'll see how easy it is. So instead of 5 times 3, I'm actually thinking 5 times 2. and then times 3. So 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 times 3 is 30. But if you do this one over here, 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 times 2 is also 30. But some people might not know 15 times 2, but I hope everybody knows 10 times 3 is 30. All right, so using these two properties, we're going to try and answer some of these questions, okay? Here we go. So we need to simplify this expression. We're just changing the groupings, okay? So write it down, 7 plus 12 plus x. We have parentheses like this. And instead of that, we're actually going to have 7 plus 12 parentheses plus x. Can we solve 7 plus 12? Yes, we can. So 7 plus 12 is going to give you 19. And then your answer for this problem, remember, it's an expression. It is not an equation. It is an expression. So your answer for this problem is just 19 plus x. All right, let's try another one. Here we go. Let's see if we can simplify this expression. Remember, expressions do not have equal signs. So we have 6 plus 1 plus x, close parentheses, plus 8.4. Let's see if we can change our groupings and rearrange this problem to solve it. So instead of 6.1 plus x, I'd like to have 6.1 plus 8.4. Let's put that in parentheses, and then we're going to have plus x. Can we now simplify this problem? Yes, we can. We just need to add. So 8.4 plus 6.1. Let's see. 4 plus 1 gives you 5, and 8 plus 6 gives you 14. Bring down your decimal, and your answer for this problem is going to be 14.5 plus x, like that, okay? All right, let's try a few more. This one looks a little bit tricky, but it is not. We just have to notice that there are some invisible signs in here, right? There's an invisible sign right there, and then there's an invisible sign right there. What signs can be invisible? Multiplication. So let's just expand this a little bit. So I actually have 5. I'm rewriting the problem, right? Rewrite the problem. And I'm just going to expand it a little bit. I'm going to add those multiplication signs. So I actually have 5 times parentheses 11 times y. All right, let's change some of these groupings and see if we can simplify this problem. So instead of 5 times parentheses 11, we're actually going to do parentheses 5 times 11, close the parentheses, times y. Can we now try and simplify this problem or simplify this expression? Yes, we can. 5 times 11 is 55, and then we just have 55y. Another way to write it would just be 55y. All right? Let's do a few more problems. Here we go. Can we solve this expression, or can we simplify this expression? Yes. We want to rearrange the numbers. So instead of 10 plus parentheses a plus 9, we would actually want to have 10 plus 9, close the parenthesis, plus the letter a. Can we simplify this? Yes, we can. 10 plus 9 is 19, and that would be 19 plus a. There we go. Here's another one. Oops, we got fractions this time. Not difficult. We can still do it. So you're going to write it down. C plus 2 over 3, close the parenthesis, plus 1/2. Another way to write it would be C plus parenthesis 2 over 3 plus 1/2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, can we simplify that problem? Yes, we can. Let's ask ourselves, how do we add fractions? You have to have a common what? Common denominator. So what common denominator does 3 and 2 have? They have 6. So I'm just going to write down something over 6 over here and something over 6 over here. So how do I get from 3 to 6? I'm going to do times 2, and I'm going to do this times 2. You get 2 times 2 is 4. And then how do I get from 2 to 6 over there? I would do times what? Oops. Times 3, and then I have to multiply it on top, right? Times 3 as well. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then now I just need to add 4 over 6 plus 3 over 6 actually gives you what? We get 7 over 6. And another way to write that is we want to simplify it. How many times can 6 go into 7? It will go in there 1 time, remember your denominator stays the same. That's 6, and what's left over is 1. So your actual answer for this problem is C plus 1, and let's see, what does that say over here? 1, 1, and 1 over 6, like that. All right, good job. Let's try our last one for this problem. Again, same problem, we just want to change the grouping, so you're going to have 5 parentheses. Please write down this problem. Okay, I want you to write it down. And we're going to expand it a little bit. So it's actually 5 times parentheses 4 times the letter n. And we want to change its groupings, right? We want to use the associative property and or the commutative property, right? We're changing the order and we're changing the groupings, okay? So instead of 5 times parentheses, we're going to have parentheses, 5 times 4, close the parentheses, times the letter n. Can we simplify this expression? Yes, we can. 5 times 4 is 20 times n. And another way to write that would be 20n. All right, those are the same thing. All right, cool. Let's try. We got 2 more stuff to write down, new parts of the notes, and then you guys can get started on your work. So here we go. In nice big letters, I would like you to write this down right here, addition property of 0. So please, this is a title, so make sure you write it down as a title. Then I would like you to copy this down right here. So it says adding a number and 0 is that number. All right, does that make sense? So adding a number and 0 is that number. The example is right here. So 7 plus 0 is going to be 7. So anything you add to 0 is just going to be that number. 1 million plus 0 is 0. Sorry, 1 million plus 0 is 1 million. 10 plus 0 is 10. Okay, so anything that you add to 0 is going to be that number. All right. Now, I also want you guys to write this one. The multiplication, let's make sure it's a nice square. The multiplication property of 1. And what does that mean? Here's your example. When you multiply any number by 1, it's going to be that number. And I hope we know that, right? So 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 1 is 5. 10 times 1 is 10. 1 million times 1 is 1 million. Okay. Also, the multiplication property of 0 is any number that you multiply by 0 is 0. So for example, we have this one right here. Write this example down. 9 times 0 is 0. 4 times 1 is 4. This is called the multiplication property of 0 or the multiplication property of 1. This should be pretty easy if we just put it all together and then we just need to complete our homework. All right, let's show some practice problem. All right, first of all, which property is this one? This is the multiplication property of 0. Well, it has a 0. So let's see if we can simplify this expression. Write it down. So 9 times 0 times p. All right, that's just a period, okay? So don't worry about that. Now, what's 9 times 0? Well, that's 0. And then 0 times p, it doesn't matter what p is going to be. Your answer is still going to be 0. That's why the multiplication property of 0 is always going to equal 0. Let's write this one down. Here we go. We have 4.5 times r times 1. Okay. Well, let's change the groupings around so that we can solve this a little bit easier. So we're going to do 4.5 times 1. Let's close those brackets. Times the letter r. Let's make it a capital R like that. Okay. So there we go. Now let's see. Can we simplify some of this? Yes. So 4.5 times 1. We know because of the multiplication property of 1, anything multiplied to 1 will just be that number. So 4.5 times 1 is 4.5. 19 times 1 is 19. 20 times 1 is 20. All right? So we just need to know that multiplication property. And what's left over? 4.5r, or another way to write that would be 4.5 like this, r. All right, those were the multiplication properties of 0 and 1. Let's try this one out really quick. Let's do some commutative and associative properties first. I'm going to rearrange the grouping. So 12 times 0 like this times b. By the way, I do want you to write this down first. Let's see, 12 times 0 is 0, and 0 times b is also 0. Good. Let's try this one out. Let's change the groupings. So write this down first. Then you have 1 times 24, close the parentheses, times m. And we know because the multiplication property of 1, 24 times 1 is 24. Bring down your m, 24 times m. So that's correct, or you can have 24m, like this. Good job. Notice how, again, all of my work is starting to look like an upside-down Dorito, if you want, or an upside-down pyramid, upside-down triangle, whatever you want to call it. All right? Last one for the day. Let's change our grouping. So instead of t plus 15, close parentheses, plus 0, we want to have t plus 15 plus 0. Let's put parentheses right here. Can we try and simplify that expression? Yes, we can. 15 plus 0 is 15. Bring down your plus sign. Bring down the letter t. And there you go. Your answer for this problem is t plus 15. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much our homework for today. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and I will see everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.